This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and this is another episode of WCM's Park Update, sponsored by Book Outdoors, and my esteemed colleague Mike Gast is here, former Vice President of Campgrounds of America, Vice President of Communications, or maybe we could put you Vice President of the whole thing, Mike.
Whatever you want to call me.
Communications, okay.
I did everything.
And he's in sunny, warm Omaha, Nebraska right now. And our guest this week is John Tuyo, who is the director of park models for park model sales for Champion Home Builders, which is part of Skyline Champion. And I guess, John, you guys have quite a few plants spread across the U.S., right?
We do. We actually have 15 plants across the country, all the way from Washington to Florida, both coasts, and then the center. So we cover all 48 states and Canada.
So John, how long has your company been involved in the park model aspect of this?
Well, they bought Athens Park probably about 19 years ago. So I would say right around 19, 20 years we've been in the park model business.
And you mentioned before that you're the largest manufacturer of park models in the country.
We're the largest manufacturer of PMRVs in the United States. The industry as a whole is doing well. I wrote down some numbers, but we have 4,794 park models that have been built year to date. So that's through November, and Champion's at 1,189. So we're blessed to have the number of manufacturing centers we do, building park models across the United States for our end users.
So walk us through a little bit of how the process has changed. I know you guys must have a lot of automation in place now, but how's it changed in that last 19 years?
Most recently, it's the changes are every day. At each manufacturing center is a little bit different, but our product offering, we try not to do everything for everybody, because we want to make our product make sense, and we like some consistency around our manufacturing centers from a costing standpoint and from a materials and options standpoint. So we try to stay somewhat the same, understanding that, for example, in North Carolina, we may have coastal colors that would never fly in Arizona or in York, Nebraska. So from a standpoint of product offerings, we're very happy with what we offer. And from an automation standpoint, our engineering department, CAD departments, and our purchasing departments have come leaps and bounds on what's available to be done in our 399 square foot heated space, if you will, for a park mall.
So do you use a dealer network, or is it direct to consumer?
No, we have a dealer network, and we have a lot of business of ours is with communities and parks. So the hospitality industry is super strong right now. So we've got a few major partners and a lot of mid-major partners across the United States that have them for the park models for hospitality, for rentals, weekly, monthly, however they may do it, depending on where they're at. Sometimes in South Dakota, that one of y'all mentioned earlier, that may not be a hot spot during the winter for rental units. But Florida, California, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, for example, our builder developer and our community network is very strong as a company.
Yeah. I always find it neat. I guess when I first got into the industry and I learned more about the park models, how you guys have the plants spread out, and how, these different plants create different units based on the region that they're in. Obviously, like you said, the Carolinas would be more coastal themed. I guess you guys must do quite a bit of research on what consumers are looking for. Are you getting that from like the dealers, or the dealers, do they communicate pretty well with you guys what they want, what their customers are looking for?
Well, they do, and it's ever changing because, for example, you have a new community that pops up in Idaho, for example, a week ago, and we're working on a whole separate product and vision look for Idaho because he has special desires and needs for his community. So our York, Nebraska plant is working with him. We have another call tomorrow to try to hone in on what he's looking for his community to look like.
Hmm.
You can do porches on the fronts, the sides, the backs. There's different things you can do, coloring, height restrictions, which we don't have in Idaho, thank goodness, but we unfortunately do in the Northeast for, transportation side of delivering them from the manufacturing centers. So all of our dealer network, our communities, they all have what they'd like to see. And then we work with our engineering and CAD departments and develop products specifically for them from the plant that's going to be building for them.
What are some of the big trends nowadays? I know, when I speak to some other PMRV producers, lofts are pretty popular with families, obviously, more sleeping area. I've seen quite a few more front porches. I guess what's pretty popular with consumers right now?
Well, I can tell you the hot button is always a front porch.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to do an outdoor kitchen, which we do for front porches. We can do a fireplace in the front porch because RVIA has given us an opportunity to stay within the code restrictions. So we're able to do that. But lofts are probably about 68%, last numbers I pulled, of our models. And then porches are right around 70%.
Yeah. Are you noticing more families gravitating towards these units? I guess maybe I'm wrong, but in the past it seemed like maybe this was more of like a retirement, older camper kind of thing, and now it's kind of shifted to where even millennials and younger families are taking a look at these as ways to be able to camp more and get outdoors more.
You're 100% correct, and the big difference is COVID made a big change in the market because people wanted to get out to the country, and a lot of people didn't have a true bumper pull or a fifth wheel RV. So to be able to get out into nature, they went to another avenue, which was the park models. So it's been a nice change for us. It's not all retirement, although we have the Florida RV Super Show starting this Saturday, Sunday, going on for a week. And that's a retiree market over there. It's a different scenario than it is, in maybe 40 of the other 48 states for a market driven. But I will tell you that our buyers are not just retirees anymore. They are the millennials that are looking for a community maybe to go to, or to have an opportunity to not have to buy a truck, pull an RV, and all the other items that come along with that, traveling with the family. They can go to a specific spot, reserve their park model, whether it's on a lake, a creek, close, it's skiing, whatever it may be.
So, John, campground owners have a lot of options out there when it comes to purchasing a park model. What sets Champion apart?
Well, Champion, the biggest thing with us is no matter where you are in the United States, Champion has an opportunity to service you from a delivery standpoint, because let's talk logistics. I mean, if you're in South Carolina and Champion's only plant was in Chandler, Arizona, you're probably not going to be very advantageous for you to purchase one when you're looking at freight costs. So our ability from a freight standpoint alone, not to mention product offering and quality of product and service of product, gives us an opportunity to set ourselves a little bit apart from maybe some others, since we're not a regionalized park model manufacturer.
So what condition does the rig show up at the campground? Does it take a lot of assembly?
Well, I always tell people, that's a great question. I tell people I played college football and I got hit a few times, but I can set a park model. So it takes about an hour and a half generally to set a park model. You really it comes in 100% ready to go. You just hook up the electric, water, and plumbing, let the air out of the tires, take the hitch off, slide it underneath. And if you want to do skirting or some version of that, if it's going to be a more of a monthly rental scenario, they may do bushes and things around it. But generally in an hour and a half, you're ready to go. And we have a hospitality package now with our plates, forks, silverwares, knives, all of those items, along with pots and pans, sheets, blankets. We can deliver those from the manufacturing center. So truthfully, the day after the unit's there, it can already be reserved for rental.
So do you help the owner with any permitting problems they might have, or any those types of questions?
That's a good question, because it's a moving target on the permitting side. But generally, yes, I do, because I'm involved with RVIA as much as possible and speak to them very frequently on regionalized problems, if you will. And we usually overcome, I would say, 9 out of 10 of them. Sometimes individual states don't exactly know what a park model is, so that's the biggest thing is teaching them what a park model is, because it's part of the RV business, and a lot of people don't understand that it's for temporary housing and it's built as an RV.
How has the tiny home movement and kind of the glamping stuff, how has that impacted the types of questions you get from like local entities about park models? Obviously park models go through the RVIA certification process. They fit specific parameters, and some of these other things that kind of look like park models don't necessarily fit that bill, I guess.
Well, you're dead on there, because I can tell you we don't use the word home or house because they are park models. They are intended for temporary housing, and the tiny homes, most of those are not built to the 119.5 RVIA code. So when people want to start talking about tiny homes or any other type of small home unit, they're generally not built to the code and to the specifications that the RV industry has set forth for all the manufacturers. So when you're talking about financing or local municipalities, that's where the schooling comes up on what we actually do as a manufacturer of park model RVs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know like the housing crisis has added some things to that too. And I know the park owners to some degree have to skirt kind of the lines too as to, how long they let campers stay. And I know it varies state to state. I know out in California, they have some housing issues, and it's becoming more of an issue out there too for park owners. So it's been interesting to see. And, I do stories all the time for Woodalls, and I see people call park models tiny homes in like news articles and different things. And I'm always, that's always a little weird to see. And obviously there's a lot more education that needs to go on. So
100% agree. And all of our advertising now is champion park models and cabins. We don't use the word and haven't used the word homes. And we do fight that a lot with the tiny homes. Somebody that wants to build 6 or 10 of them in a little shop in their backyard and hook them to trucks and all that. I drive a big truck. I wouldn't want to pull one of our park models around with my truck. So they are intended to be delivered by semis and put on site. So it's a little bit different scenario than the tiny homes you see on the internet. So you're right. Schooling is the key, and information getting out to the market is a key component of what we do.
John, what's the average price of a champion setup?
Sure. Of course, depending with the 15 plans, but I always try to tell people anywhere from 50 to 150. And I know that's a kind of a gray answer, but we have workforce housing that we do, and those are lower cost units because you're looking for what the joking term beds and heads. So you're looking for as many beds to put as many heads in as you can. So, I would say 50 to 150 is probably a pretty good note.
I think during COVID, the couple years after, we got in the habit of asking park model manufacturers and cabin companies, what's the turnaround time? So I guess, if I were to order one today, what can I expect? When could I expect to have my unit, I guess?
Yes, sir. Great question. And we get that asked daily, especially when you're talking about developers that want to buy 15 to 30 to get a new community going. Right now, our average is probably about 8 weeks as a company, if you were to average it across the 15 manufacturing centers.
I mean, that's down quite a bit from, I think in 2021, I was getting like a year and a half from some companies.
A lot of it was the number of units that were sold, and a lot of it was also a supply chain issue with COVID.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about it being temporary housing, but what's the lifespan of a champion park model?
That you guys are asking all the questions that I hear every day, so that's kind of nice. I will tell you that if you take care of the park model, as in if you're renting it and you do your general upkeep, everybody seems to tell us that the park models are anywhere from 15 to 30 years.
Okay.
But generally, the big communities and the people that rent them all the time, they'll flow through them, and every 7 to 15 years they'll want to update, because again, people's desires have changed in that time frame. So they'll just sell it and then move on and put a new unit in there, because there may be some new tricks, outdoor kitchens, lofts with different scenario setups for more beds and heads. Then they'll make a move on it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we're going to take a short break and recognize our sponsor, Book Outdoors, and then we will be right back with John Tuyo.
Today's show is sponsored by Book Outdoors. If you want increased visibility and higher occupancy, your campground needs to be listed where today's guests are searching and booking. Book Outdoors is the most sought-after destination for booking outdoor accommodations. Listing your property on Book Outdoors is free and easy, and Book Outdoors seamlessly integrates with several popular reservation systems. Register now and get a $25 gift card when your listing is published, plus another $100 to celebrate your first booking. Visit partners.bookoutdoors.com for more information and to get started.
Hi, welcome back to WCM's Park Update, and we are talking with John Tuyo, Director of Park Model Sales for Champion Home Builders, and we are just getting some information on Champion, what they provide, the park model industry in general. I guess just talking about the industry in general. Looking back at 2023, it was a really solid year for a lot of park model builders. Do you anticipate that in the future? And I guess, what are some challenges that park model builders face? I know interest rates are higher. They're supposed to come down, but are there any, challenges that you guys face on like the hiring side and things like that?
Yeah, I will tell you first off to kind of recap sort of 2023, because our stats are through November.
Okay.
They'll update mid-January, end of January for true 2023 numbers. But park model industry as a whole is up just over 10%. So, and again, Champion's about 25.6% of the business. The difference is the industry's up because we've had a lot more manufacturers get into it, even from a small standpoint. So it's helped the numbers rise some. From a hiring standpoint at the manufacturing centers, we have the opportunity, being Champion and being as large as we are, we have a good standard, if you would, baseline workforce, and we're always flowing new people in. We're building a new line in Chandler, Arizona right now. We've got another plant that we can put in that's already there and start building park models on a second line in North Carolina. So from a build up and ramp up standpoint, we're looking for a good 2024 based on our community business and based on the campgrounds and going to all the shows that we go to and seeing what's actually happening out there in the market. And it seems pretty strong for 2024. I mean, from Champion standpoint, we're hoping to push over $100 million of park models in 2024.
Wow.
John, has Champion ever thought about owning parks and just putting their models right out there?
The vertical integration is an interesting question. And at this point today, no, because we have such a strong community base and retailer dealer base. That's not on the short side look for the near future, but it's a great question. And it comes up a lot, if we want to partner with people to do that. But from a vertical integration, just most recently, we've got a JV with Triad. So we're on the financing side to assist our retailers now from HUD and park model side of the business. And that's just kicked off here recently in the last couple of weeks. So that's going to be a strong move for Champion as a whole. And then the other thing about vertically integrating, I don't think we're going to get into the owning of being 100% owner for sure of communities anytime in the near future. We've got a lot of big communities and developers that are doing it, and they're good at it, and we're going to let them stay the course.
I heard from some other companies and, not just in the park model side, but other manufacturers of various products in the industry during the show season this last fall that, park owners were kind of like coming and looking, but maybe delaying or holding on purchases, just kind of waiting to see what the market does, that kind of stuff. Are you noticing that, where maybe the park owners are being a little slower than in years past to make decisions?
Well, yes, but I think it's twofold. One, I think that the interest rates are affecting today's mindset and today's purchase. But
Yeah.
we also have to remember that you brought up the backlogs from the past,
Yeah.
and a lot of people had a shortage of inventory, and then they had a large amount of inventory based on getting the units delivered when everybody had a backlog. So I think when the inventories come back down, which they're coming down monthly now, per our communities and our campgrounds, that the need for new park models is going to be strong. We all get tied up into the interest rates, but if we were back in the 1980s, we'd think 6% is pretty strong. So I think whatever we get used to, it becomes the norm. And I think our interest rates, we're all hoping will come back down at least into the low sixes consistently and maybe touch fives again. So I think it's twofold: interest rate and a group of inventory that's been prepared based on backlog.
So, John, you mentioned the Tampa show coming up. What's Champions going to look like down there?
Well, we've got 6 models total. We have 3 that I'm actually be working along with our 2 manufacturing centers. So we've got some new looks, we've got some new colors, we've got some new features, and we've got 2, if you will, small horseshoes next to each other of 3 park models. And we're looking forward to a wonderful retail show. It's a one-day dealer show, and then the rest is retail. So Florida is a lot of customers as opposed to a lot of dealers and campgrounds and communities.
Yeah, definitely. On the development, just kind of getting back into the industry stuff for a minute, just on the development side, I guess I'm always surprised at how hot the development market has been. And I mean, it really still is, because we see stories every day of people asking permission to build parks and a ton of activity. I guess, are you guys seeing that on the Skyline side? Obviously, you mentioned you're working with developers. Are you still seeing a strong level of activity on that side?
Yeah, I would say that it's fairly strong.
Yeah.
And interest rates have affected the cost of money. So it slowed down a few of the developments that we had on our sites for 2023. But I think in 2024 that the growth from a community standpoint is still going to be strong. I really do.
I think everybody in the outdoor hospitality industry is just riding a pretty, it's been a pretty solid, 3 to 4 years for everyone. I think lots of people are making pretty good money and seeing revenues up and everything. I guess, in your mind, could this last for 5 to 10 more years? What slows? We've gone through higher interest rates, the cost of things, inflation, everything, and it hasn't slowed stuff down, I guess, too much. I guess, what is there anything that slows this down right now, or is just people want to get outdoors so much that it's gonna go on for 5-10 more years, I guess?
Well, looking at my crystal ball, based on what we want to do for 2024 and beyond, we feel strong about the park model industry as a whole. If you just look at the shows and the amount of interest from the retail sector at shows, it's tremendous. I mean, the glamping expos, we've got shows, campground shows, small and large. And every time we go to one, we take one of our units or we have a booth, the turnout is just tremendous. So I think that the thing that's changed that I can see from working all the shows is the age difference now. It's covering a broader spectrum. So we have people in their mid 20s all the way up into retirement years that are looking at park models as an option. And I think that's opened up additional markets and different product desires because you've got different age groups.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been amazing. I know I was at a lot of the shows this past fall, and you got some of the shows were pretty developer investor heavy. Other shows, more mom and pop campgrounds attended, and every single show was extremely well attended. And I don't know, were you out at the glamping show? Did you get to go out to that one?
I actually did. That was the first time that I went as a just an attendee. I did not have a unit out there. We will next year, because that show's grown exponentially from where it started, and that's a prime example of the industry is going to continue to grow from what I see in our champion crystal ball, because of shows like theirs, and it's opening up a different market that hasn't been available or hasn't even been looked at prior.
What's the level of sophistication among buyers? Have they become more knowledgeable as time has gone by, or are we seeing newbies in there that really don't know what a park model is?
I'm going to tell you, it's probably 25% that they don't really understand what a park model is. But we are a far cry from the retirees and residual income used to purchase a park model. And now with the financing options that are out there, not only with our JV with Triad, but as a whole, I think that local banks, credit unions, and our large lenders over and above what we can do as a company or as an industry has afforded people the opportunity to look at this as an option, as opposed to maybe a retirement home, as opposed to a park model in a specific area.
Yeah. Well, we're getting near the end of the show here. I did have one more question on the competition side. Obviously, even if you went just to the glamping show, there's a number of different cabin manufacturers, park model manufacturers, some with really unique looking units. How has that put pressure on you guys, I guess, at Champion and other major park model builders on the innovation side? Has that spurred more innovation quicker, or are you guys just always innovating and it doesn't really do very much?
Well, I can tell you that when you go to any show, there's always a new kid on the block that may have something that they dreamt up or had a dream in the middle of the night and woke up and figured out how to do it. So from a CAD engineering standpoint, we follow the 119.5 RVIA code. And if we can do it and do it correctly and do it consistently, then we don't have a problem looking at anything. We try not to do one-offs, but when you're talking, like my example earlier about the Idaho, the new one, to do something 15 or 30 times in a manufacturing center, that's when it makes sense for both sides from a costing standpoint, for us and for them. So I think innovation is spectacular, and it's going to continue to evolve. But we have to remember that we still only have 399 square feet on the outside dimension. So we do the best we can, and there's always new innovative things that come up. And we'll be showing a few of those things here in the next couple shows that are in the next 3 months.
All right. And just real briefly before we end the show, I guess, where can people find out more information about Champion Home Builders?
Well, thank you. Yeah, they can actually go just to championhomes.com. And then we have drop downs for Athens Park and Shore Park. And it's very easy to manipulate and go through our website. And I get leads every single day from customers all across the country. And then I separate those out and deliver them to the closest manufacturing center. So the website is clearly the best way. And of course, we'll be at the Florida RV show. We'll be at the Louisville show with the park model this year. So we're out and about, and we can be found daily on the internet.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John, for coming on the show. I always like learning more about park models and just the industry in general. It's definitely been doing really well the last couple of years. So hopefully you guys continue to experience a strong 2024 and see some growth. And hopefully maybe I'll see you around at some shows either this spring or next fall. So
sounds great, Ben. I appreciate you and Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Join us for a new show each Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.